Hello and welcome to Killball Retro Tech. Hope you're having an amazing day. I have had a roadblock, a couple in fact, in making Killball Retro Tech videos for way too long. Now, what's going on here? Well, this is Zoroark. A couple of the other appearances of this machine on Cobalt Retro Tech videos had it in a different case. It was a fractal design case, which was good at the time, but quickly became way too small when I actually got an RTX 2080 Super, and not a low profile one at that. So I had to get an actual case for this thing. So what have I been doing with this machine? Well, it's been pulling double duty actually. It's been a workstation PC and a network attached storage PC, aka NAS. Now, for quite some time that actually worked out fairly well, and by that I mean I like to use Linux for things when I can get away with running Linux. Unfortunately, there is yet another roadblock that's preventing me from using MP4 files in DaVinci Resolve under Linux, specifically in the free version of DaVinci Resolve. It's probably some kind of licensing bullcrap because I don't have the same issue doing DaVinci Resolve free on Windows. That's really weird. But that's part of this story of what I'm doing in this video. I need to separate the NAS duties of this machine into a different one. Specifically, if I can wake up my computer a second here. Specifically because, as you can see here, I am running Windows. Now, why am I running Windows? Well, it has to do with that MP4 file codec that I'm going through with DaVinci Resolve. Technically, I could solve that by buying a perpetual license for DaVinci Resolve, but that's like $300, and I don't want to do that right now. So, a little while ago, I bit the bullet, got an SSD for this machine that's separate from the main boot Ubuntu SSD, and now I'm running Windows here. Anybody who is familiar with Windows and Linux will know right off the bat exactly what my problem is. But just in case for those of you that don't know the problem I am facing right now, is my main bulk storage drive is in a file system called ext4. A file system primarily, if not totally intended for Linux system. And that's a problem, because Windows 10 has absolutely no support whatsoever for ext4. So, for the last video that I produced for this channel, what I've had to do was take all the footage and a few of my standard assets for Cobalt Retro Tech videos and put them manually on the SSD of this machine so that I can access them on Windows instead of using them through the external through my ext4 drive. Some of my videos can get pretty long and pretty big, especially at higher resolutions, so this is no longer acceptable as a solution. Way back a couple weeks ago when I first did this Windows installation, it was like a Band-Aid solution on top of a Band-Aid solution. But I need both of these solutions. I need both of these solutions to be fixed now. So that's what I'm doing here. You'll see this board a little bit more up close and personal in a minute or two. But I've got that board with, I'm actually not 100% sure what's in the machine. I know it's an Athlon CPU. Part of the idea with this new machine, though, it's a much lower powered machine than the one I'm running right here. That's because it's going to be NAS duty and I don't have anything else and I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on a brand new PC. But yeah, that is the point of this video. I'm going to be migrating my NAS duties away from this computer, so no matter what operating system I'm using, Windows, Mac, or Linux, or whatever the hell else I manage to find in the future, if it has some kind of support for SMB and OpenSSH and that kind of stuff, I should be able to use the new NAS. Now, I'm going to achieve this with Ubuntu Server Edition 22.04, at least for the time being. I might upgrade sometime in the future, but this is now. So how exactly am I going to start this? Well, I have the web page for a USB flashing tool called Rufus up. That's because I just downloaded this program and I ran it to flash this Ubuntu 22.04 server image to this. Oh, you can't see that. I flashed that Ubuntu server image to this flash drive, and it looks like the program is done. So at this point, we're going to actually hop over to that machine over here, and we're going to see if this will boot. There's a non-zero chance I might actually have to redo this. This setup is actually very precarious. I would not recommend setting up a computer like this, especially if it's going to be your main workhorse for literally any reason. But this is just for testing and setup purposes at the moment. So if you are going to do something like this, proceed with extreme caution, because what I am doing here is technically dangerous. Something could get shorted, something could start burning, blah blah blah, electrical hazards. You guys probably know what I'm talking about here. I don't know if I have it configured yet to boot off of USB. It's a motherboard from about 2011, so it should be able to boot from USB. Assuming the power supply is on. Alright, this thing should start booting any second. Alright, I didn't get to see what CPU is on here. I believe this is a totally fresh version of Windows here, so I should be able to hop in to the desktop. Of course, in the middle of setup. Thanks, Windows. Okay. We got it to a desktop. And yes, I do hear how loud that CPU cooler is. I'm going to roll with it for now, but at some point in the future, I'm going to get a much stronger and quieter cooler, so I don't have to worry about thermals. Processor, there we go. An AMD FX-4350 quad-core processor. Okay, yeah, that's not going to struggle that much with NAS duty. My bottleneck is probably going to be the networking, which I actually have multiple PCI slots on this machine, so that's actually not going to be an impossible thing to fix, at least in theory. Ethernet seems to be gigabit, so there's that. So, I mean, my network basically runs at gigabit anyways, so cool. Okay, that's enough of Windows. I'm going to go ahead and nuke this install so that I can get Ubuntu running on this thing. Okay, let's see. Standard CMOS features. We got that Kingston 120 gig SSD. For some reason, it's thinking it's in an IDE channel, even though it's a SATA drive. It does have an IDE header on the board. This is still kind of in that phase where IDE was still used. Pretty much in 2013, we got rid of IDE for the most part. Bold of Windows to assume that I want to keep Windows, when that's literally not what I want. LS120. I think it's technically a hard drive. It's not a zip drive. It's not a floppy disk drive. It's not a CD-ROM. Hard drive would have to work. I don't think this board is capable of booting via USB, which is really weird because 2012 is definitely an era of being able to boot off of USB. I've heard of much older boards being able to boot off of USB, so either there's something weird with this thumb drive, or it just can't boot from USB. I'm going to try and find a different USB stick real quick. You can see the boot stuff. Let's try USB. You would have never guessed that this board from 2012, 2011, 2012, whatever, is not capable of booting via USB. Because while I was booting my workstation PC to look at this USB stick with Ubuntu, because I thought there was some kind of weird boot partition thing going on, nope. It just worked. With no problem. So we're just going to roll with that. I also don't want to screw around with CDs and DVDs. So I've just gone ahead and connected this. I don't know if you can see it that well. Probably not. This adapter right here adapts the SATA protocol to USB. And I'm using this PC to power said SSD somewhere in that mess of wires, so that we can install it over here. And the beautiful part about Ubuntu is it straight up does not give any crap as to what machine you install it on and where you move it to. Now, sometimes drivers can be a little bit tricky when you're doing this kind of stuff, but in general, it should just work. But there's a famous last word, so take that with a grain of salt. Alright. Looks like this machine is done installing Ubuntu. I'm going to go ahead and go over here and see if this machine will actually use Ubuntu like this. Okay, so we have Ubuntu installed on the SSD, presumably, at least. So I'm going to go ahead, Control-Alt-Delete over there. And it should just boot into Ubuntu server. Should, being the key word here. Ooh, it's doing something. Oh, there we go. Probably some kind of first-time boot stuff that's doing right now. Ooh, gotta log in. Okay, let's not break the PC. Okay. Log in. Wait, what? I didn't do anything. What is it doing? Wait, what? What? I am confused. Hello? Am I able to do things? Okay, not sure what happened there. Let's break out of that. Okay, CRT. let's put in the password a lot carefully. Is caps lock on? Oh my god, it was. Oh, nice. The caps lock indicator on this keyboard is broken. There we go. Caps lock was the problem. Well, considering Windows did not see a wireless network module while it was setting up, I don't think this thing has Wi-Fi built in. I could be wrong though, because I didn't actually take some time to actually set up Windows, like, fully, because I just nuked that install and that was the plan this entire time. But we are in Ubuntu 22.04.1, and I've been looking forward to, but also dreading this part for a little while now. We're going to actually put this in the case. Okay. So, don't judge me, but my bed is my only available workspace right now. Whatever. It's fine. It'll work. And yes, I know, ESD straps, grounding protection, blah blah blah. I don't care about that right now, because this system is more than likely modern enough to have that not be that great of a problem. So what I have right here that I'm about to put in front of the camera is the case. You might notice another similarity that this computer will have with the other one. Yes, this is a white version of the exact case my workstation PC is in. I tried to find a cheap case that had ample room for hard drive storage, and this was the cheapest one that was available. As was the last time I picked out one of these guys. So, like I said earlier, I'm going to put a better CPU cooler in this machine at some point in the future. But right now, all we need is for things to work, not necessarily have the best cooling available. Initially, I wanted a build guide to be part of this video, but this video ended up being a lot longer than I had originally anticipated, so I've ended up making it a time-lapse instead. For the time being, please enjoy Learning Fusion by Cobalt Heart, which is available on many different streaming platforms right now. Plug the machine in, power supply is on. If anything is going to blow up at this point, it's going to be now. And we have fan spin on the top fan and the CPU cooler. Got it plugged into the monitor, so it should pop up here in a second. Hey! Hey! I didn't kill it! I didn't kill it! I didn't kill it! Yeah! Alright, it should very shortly boot into Ubuntu server. Oh, hell yeah. Ubuntu server on this new machine. Okay. Alright. I would install a graphical user interface real quick if I had access to the internet, which I could do. I'm like right by my router. Yeah, I didn't connect it to Wi-Fi, and it's not physically connected to the network, so I'm not surprised that is not working. dir. I could have sworn dir test dir. Okay. dir is working as intended. There's just nothing on this machine. Go figure. At least nothing that dir will show by default. I'm just confused because I'm used to desktop Linux where it automatically gives you like a downloads folder, a home folder, and all that jazz. I've never set up Ubuntu server, so this is almost entirely new territory for me. All right, well, let's shut this machine down. Plug in the rest of the drives just like it was just a couple minutes ago. We are going to go ahead and try and figure out how to always make the BIOS boot to the first hard drive. I am concerned though, because those drives I have are not NAS grade drives. So they might not be as durable as NAS featured drives. I don't know why it needs to verify DMI pool data, and I don't know if I can turn that off and if it would benefit me turning that off, because that seems to be our hang-up point here. I guess I'll be back whenever this changes, if it does. Okay, I think I figured out that DMI pool thing. It's something to do with the computer not knowing which drive to boot from, which is really weird because on my workstation computer I didn't have that problem, so I don't know what the hell is going on. But this should boot up here in Ubuntu fairly quickly. Maybe. Maybe I want to put this thing back on IDE mode. Alright, I'm putting it back on IDE mode. There we go! Okay, that was way too hard. I have some additional hardware that will help me set this up in the way that I want to set it up. And right off the bat, I'm going to use the Ethernet cable that I'm going to end up using with this machine, at least hopefully. To get this thing online, get it updated, and possibly install a GUI, maybe. I don't know if I'm going to do that, because I think I'm mostly just going to install OpenSSH and call it good. CRT. Super secret password. Alright, now we're in. Now, can we sudo apt update? After putting in a password. It's doing something. Yes! We have internet! Woo! And we're doing things in a command line interface operating system in 2022. Uh-oh. Don't know why it's doing that. I've never had that happen before. Sudo apt upgrade dash fix missing. Never had that happen before. Not on any of the machines I have used Linux on. Like, not even the G3. Okay. Let's see, what is this saying here? Following packages will be upgraded. 40 upgraded, 1 newly installed, 0 to remove, 0 to be upgraded. Need 19 megabytes of archives after operation. 16 kilobytes of disk space will be freed. Do you want to continue? Yes. I think this has something to do with the specific mirror that I'm using. Sudo apt install cinnamon. Will it let me install a GUI? Yes? Something broke. Where did that USB drive go? I'm gonna have to reinstall this operating system, aren't I? Something went wrong. It would be nice if I can ever have just one Cobalt RetroTech video that's a little bit more involved than just looking at a Sega Genesis that would just work within the friggin' hour. But no. No, this is not the world we live in. Cobalt RetroTech videos have to be absolute hell to produce. Always, forever, for no reason. Okay, I got some stuff going on over there. I plugged that SSD that Ubuntu server is installed on this machine, back on this one. Sudo apt updating over here, and it seems to be working, so hopefully if I plug it back onto that machine, it should update stuff. Okay, sudo apt update. That's a weird thing about this install that I'm noticing. Sometimes the password prompt disappears, which is very odd. Okay, just gonna install the Cinnamon desktop real quick. If this doesn't work, I'm just gonna install desktop Ubuntu and call it good. Are you kidding me? Oh, God, I guess I'm using desktop Ubuntu because this. I don't want to figure this out, and doing this kind of shit is actually a lot easier on desktop Ubuntu, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Okay. I went ahead and installed Ubuntu 22.04.1 desktop directly onto the SSD with that machine, everything all installed, blah blah blah. I'm starting to record less and less for this video because it's taking so freaking long. Let's see if it boots. Didn't I fix this problem earlier? Could have sworn I fixed this problem earlier. Alright, I guess having to install it with optical media might be my last choice here. Oh boy. Okay. Don't mind the rain sounds. It's been in like a week or two since the last clip because I've been very frustrated in getting this thing off the ground. But I finally managed to do it with this drive right here. Now, this isn't going to be part of my permanent setup, as this case does not have a CD drive bay for that, but this will help me install Ubuntu because this board, despite being from about 2011, does not want to boot via USB, and this machine will not boot the install of Ubuntu that's currently on that SSD. Even though everything installed correctly, it just does not want to cooperate. So that's why I have this drive here right now. It'll help me get Ubuntu going. Now, I do have a little bit of a problem right now, as the only keyboard that I have available right now is a Dvorak keyboard. Yes, I do slightly regret getting this, but it's something. Is that gonna work? Please do what I... Okay, perfect. We go down here to CD-ROM, and boom! It starts actually doing something rather than sitting at this stupid DMI pool bull crap. Since this thing has a dedicated graphics card, that's a little bit stronger than some internal graphics. I think just the normal mode will work, but if that doesn't work off the bat, I can do the safe graphics. And this is going to take forever because we're booting off a DVD here. I just so happen to have a DVD of Ubuntu 22.04 laying around thanks to a failed video involving Clippy. I don't know, maybe I can revisit that video at some point, but right now I just want to get this NAS actually booting Ubuntu on its own, so I can have this be its own NAS thing instead of making one of my other computers that are always doing other things. So I can have them dedicated for whatever I need them to do instead of also pulling NAS duty. Can't quite see it. Maybe you can if I zoom out a little bit more. But there is disk activity going on. I would have expected to see something by now, which is a little worrying. I swear, if I literally can't get anything to boot, I'm just, whoa, okay. I was gonna say, if I can't get anything to boot, I'm just gonna replace the board, but look what the heck's happening! That just took like 2 minutes to start booting. Well, maybe it's a good thing we've gotten rid of DVDs, because that was ridiculous. Maybe I'm a bit too spoiled by USB 3.0 and Flash media, but come on. This is really slow even for 2011 standards. Granted, this isn't a 2011 operating system, this is Ubuntu 22.04, but still. I'm gonna have to cut a lot of this out just for time. You know, as a person that grew up basically at the dawn of the modern internet as we know it today, plus the relative abandonment of physical media and insane internet download speeds and all that, it's amazing that some people are able to put up with multiple minute boot times with a system like this. This is an AMD Athlon based board, and I don't expect it to be the fastest in any way, shape, or form. I mean, this thing has an IDE channel. Like, this has legacy stuff on it, so of course I'm not going to expect it to have like 6 NVMe channels and, 128 Ryzen Epic cores or, something like that. But it's been a couple of minutes since I started that last clip, and it's still at this screen. Physical media, when it comes to like consoles and stuff like that, it's usually pretty good. Because with games, you only load things in like chunks at a time. You know, sometimes the loading speed can be a little slow in between areas, but the overall experience is usually pretty good. But this is a case where I think physical media, at least in the context of optical discs with operating systems, is a terrible thing. Because this system should have only taken like maybe 1 minute to boot, but it's been about 8 to 10, probably 12 minutes since I started filming this section of the video. And it's still not done booting yet. So unless you absolutely want to use original physical media to install an operating system, especially one that's fairly rare or has a very low volume of printing, especially on like the Linux side, just use slash media if you can. Unfortunately, I can't because fucking reasons. This is my only option right now, unfortunately. I could probably do some bullshit with flashing an image to another hard drive, but I feel like this is the best option for me right now, considering this is actually working instead of the like 5 or 6 reasonable steps I was taking before. Either my luck is just cursed, or there's something weird about this board that I genuinely don't understand. Okay, finally, we're getting somewhere. For some reason, I didn't want to boot with the default functions, so I put her on the safe graphics mode, and suddenly things are working. Took another like 15 minutes to get here. Man, I am so glad that we don't have DVDs as our only option anymore, because this is disgustingly slow for a much more modern PC than this guy over here. There we go, quite some time later, and I'm finally getting somewhere with this stupid computer. Ugh. I can't believe that a computer from 2011 is more frustrating to install things on than a friggin' iMac G3 from 2001. But here we are. None of my other drives are connected to this computer. All I've got is the DVD drive and the SSD. Because I know for certain, because I can physically see both of these drives here, they're connected to power, but not SATA. So this computer has no idea that those drives even exist right now. So there should be no possibility of absolutely wiping my data. So let's go ahead and install Ubuntu 22.04. Blah, 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 blah. You can hear that disk drive. It's doing interesting things. Oh, look at that. It does see the other Ubuntu install. But I'm going to go ahead and tell it to nuke everything. So what this is saying right here, if you continue, list of changes below will be written to disk, otherwise you'll be able to make further changes manually. It's saying that the partition tables of SCSI 4, I don't know why it's saying it's SCSI, that's not SCSI, it's SATA. Maybe it's saying SCSI because it has IDE channels on here. I'm not sure. How Linux detects drives can be really weird sometimes. And the drive spun down because I'm sitting here talking. Okay. Okay, let's double check what it's doing here. Partition 2 of SCSI 4, which is apparently going to be my boot drive with this computer, SCSI 4, is ESP. I believe that's Linux swap file system, and then the rest of it is ext4, which is the standard file system for Linux. So we're going to go ahead and hit continue. The drive should spin back up here in a second. Here we go. Alright, I'm going to set it to my time zone. I didn't think I would be installing Ubuntu with a DVD drive with this machine, but here we are. I'm so glad I've gotten to this point where I'm actually installing an operating system on the computer. Having to wait way too much time for this bullcrap. It's been a back burner project for a long time, and it's very frustrating because I need this computer right over here to function as my NAS so that my Windows drive on my work PC can actually see all the files that I need to edit videos. That is the biggest reason why Cobalt Regitech videos have been really slow lately, and I really hope this works out because I'm going to go nuclear if this does not work. If I can at least install the operating system and get it booting on its own, that's fine. And if the built-in networking doesn't work, that's also fine because I do have another network card. I have no idea if that card works, but I can get something to work eventually. So, my name, Cobalt. I type a little bit slower on Dvorak because I'm not nearly as proficient with it, but it should suffice. Name for this computer. Zorark is taken by my work PC. Clippy is taken by the Pentium. Talon is taken by the Alienware Alpha. Meltan is taken by the Mac Mini. I've been going with a Pokemon theme lately, so I probably should do a white Pokemon. This isn't the main color of this Pokemon, but I think that'll work. Oshawott! Hello, Oshawott. I'm going to set it to log in automatically, because I can do that. It makes sense that that's not really that much of an option with Windows or Mac, at least nowadays, but logging in automatically is actually very useful in this kind of application, because, again, I'm going to be using this as an NAS, which is going to be really interesting if I can't get the friggin' networking working. So this entire time it's been configuring whatever the heck it is doing, it's copying files. We should actually have a bootable Ubuntu system here pretty soon. Alright guys, moment of truth. Is this gonna work? I friggin' hope so. This board has been torturing me for way too long. Okay, restart now. Okay, we got this bar before. Oh! It's doing something! It's doing something without boot media! Woo! Finally, we're getting somewhere! Oh man! I've been trying to get to this point for literally weeks. What's the answer? A fucking DVD drive. Woo! Okay. The answer was a DVD drive. I haven't booted anything off of a DVD since 2014. Except for the Windows XP stuff. I've never installed anything Linux related off of a DVD. And I don't want to do that again because that was incredibly painfully slow. I can tell right now, though, that the network driver is not wanting to work. I have a card that might work if I can locate that, and if it is functional and Linux likes the drivers for that, I should be able to get that to work. But for now, let's just set up the system. It's not even showing me network-related settings here, so we're probably screwed. But, hey, it's a running system. Now I can actually get files on and off of this thing. Now I can actually use it as a computer. That is a major step up to what was going on a couple weeks ago, and I'm so happy. And kind of pissed that it took this much. The network is not working for some reason. Before I continue, I need some kind of network thing to be working. Thing is, I don't know if the network card I have is gigabit or faster. If it's not, that's gonna make doing file transfers a lot slower because most of my stuff that I have runs at about gigabit. Yeah, network card? Apparently I meant fax modem. Apparently, I have a fax modem card. I don't know how that happened. Who the hell even uses fax nowadays? I mean, I guess my landlord does technically run a business, but like, come on! Are businesses really still using fax? Maybe he stopped using fax, and that's the reason why I got this card. Who knows? I've just saved myself a lot of heartache and network troubleshooting thanks to the external adapter that I have. I now finally have network access. Why the onboard networking won't work? I have no clue, but at this point I do not care, since I do now have network access. Finally! Okay. So at this point, if I can grab my keyboard and get into at least a vaguely comfortable position here, I can finally, for the first time in this system, after zooming in a little bit, do sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade -y. That typing speed is not too bad for a keyboard layout that I'm not used to. And of course I mistyped it because reasons. Hell yeah, it's working! Oh man, this is so satisfying. 7 megabytes per second, that's not too bad. Downloads from the canonical servers tend to be a lot slower than what a network can actually handle on an Ubuntu system unless a lot of configuring is done. For the most part, though, the speeds that the servers serve updates at is serviceable. Can't complain too much. I mean, this is a motherboard from 2011 that's running an Athlon processor. I can't remember exactly which one it is on the top of my head, but I'll probably find that out again once I'm actually editing this video. Which, now that this is actually starting to work, I can actually set this up as a NAS and start editing videos again, which is very convenient timing. I am so excited. I just really hope this thing doesn't break at some point, which I'm probably going to have to start setting up regular backups, and in the event of a total drive failure without a proper backup, I'll probably dive into the Git ecosystem so I can set up scripts and stuff like that, so I can set up systems like this a lot faster. And once these updates install, I'm going to go ahead and fully plug in my other drives so I can actually set those up. There should be a way to get my current 4 terabyte drive and my new 8 terabyte bulk storage drive to both be mounted automatically and detectable with the Samba service when setting this up. So I don't have any speakers hooked up at the moment, but I should be able to open up Firefox, go to youtube.com, and search up a cool YouTube channel Cobalt Retro Tech. Hell yeah. Hey, look at that. That's a short I made with this very PC. And the time of filming, it took 2 hours after creating that short to get this system up and running. Like I said, DVDs are not ideal, but at least it worked. Alright, now that we have a functional system, I'm going to go through the process of setting up all of my drives so that I can actually start using this as a NAS. Okay, I've got everything connected. I've got the SATA cables going. I've got power going everywhere. And this should work. Ideally, it should boot from the SSD that we just installed Ubuntu onto, and then it should also detect the 4TB and the 8TB drive. And now we wait. Yeah, even my workstation PC takes quite a handful of seconds to boot up, so sometimes patience is a virtue. I only saw 2 drives there. Where's my 3? If it doesn't now, I'm really gonna be mad. So you can hear those hard drives, they're actually not being accessed right now because they're not plugged into the SATA bus. By the way, yes, I do know that SATA is kind of hot pluggable, but I've got precious data on one of these drives and I don't want to potentially fry one of the hard drives or both of them in case it's not. Pretty sure it is though, but I don't want to take any risks. Normally at this point I'd be doing a lot of like configuration with the graphics stuff, but the graphics stuff is not what I need from this system, and I mean it's running a GT 710, so it's not like there's a whole lot of graphical horsepower anyways. So I think I'm just going to leave it at its default resolution, power this off one more time, and I'm just going to plug one drive in and see what happens. I can't remember if my 8TB drive is the one on the top or the bottom, but they're both going to eventually be connected, assuming that this thing will, like, actually work. Progress! It's booting! With more than one hard drive! Okay. No joke, I was scared I was going to have to get another board, because, man, I was very, very ready to just chuck the board and get a new one. We can see a hard drive on here. It is the 3.7TB, and there is all of my stuff. Hell yeah. Okay, cool. Woo! I can start editing videos again. Oh, man. Assuming this computer doesn't want to f*** me over for the 100th time, I should have this up and running as a NAS in no time flat. Okay. That's the 8TB drive connected. We're about to see what the hell is gonna happen. So I've got networking working. I only need the basic display drivers because I'm not going to be doing any fancy resolution-based stuff or video editing on this thing. Literally, the only thing I want to use this computer for is being a NAS, and then if I'm feeling particularly masochistic, I'm going to run a Minecraft server on it. At least locally. But right now, the NAS is what I need, because the NAS is what I need to access all of my files. Specifically with Ubuntu, because perfect. Okay. I don't immediately see my 8 terabyte drive, which is a little bit worrying. But it's seeing my Mac Mini on the network. That's kind of cool. Why am I not seeing my 8 terabyte drive though? That is actually a little bit concerning. Is this SATA cable actually borked? Oh. This is a brand new 8 terabyte drive. It's probably not showing up because there's no partitions on it. Why do I only remember this after a bunch of troubleshooting? Man, this is the kind of stuff you have to deal with when you get into computing as a hobby. Just random bullcrap technological problems. I bet you once I install Gparted. Wow, my icons are very small. I bet you once I install Gparted, it's gonna friggin' see it. Am I gonna be able to use that 8 terabyte drive? Okay, there's the boot drive, which is SD alpha. Oh, SDB, there you are, baby! Yeah! Woo! Okay! I have a NAS. Well, not quite yet. I haven't set up the network stuff how I want it to be, but everything is connected. So, I'm gonna go ahead, make a new partition. Oh, there's no partition table. Okay, so, at least in Linux, when you have a brand new drive, not only will it not have partitions on it, you have to create a partition table. Now, in a program like Gparted, it's very easy. You can just create a partition table like that. I'll just leave it as GPT. Call that good. And now I should be able to make partitions. So I'm just gonna make a large partition with the 8 terabyte drive, call the volume label Big Chungus, because I can. Wait, no, that's a label. That's not the partition name. Can the partition label be the same? Oh man, this keyboard's weird. Can a partition label be the same as its name? We're about to find out. Apparently. Okay. We are now formatting 8 terabytes of data, which is literally double my biggest drives. I have 2 4 terabyte drives. I've never had 8 terabytes in a single drive before. This is kind of cool. Okay. So in the file Explorer, I should see. Okay, neither of those drives are connected. Okay. Well, they're oh, it just took a second. Cool. There's the current vault drive, and here's Big Chungus. There shouldn't be anything on there because I just set that up. Cool. Okay, at this point, I've got some additional setup to do to get this machine where I want it to be. So my next step here is to install Samba. I believe I'm gonna need Samba. Sudo install SAMBA. Oh, did I? Oh, I missed the apt. There we go. That'll install Samba. I'm not 100% sure if I need all of Samba, but wouldn't hurt to do that as a backup in case plan A does not work. Alright. So, just looking at the network here real quick. For some reason, my Mac Mini is showing up twice. This is a single Mac Mini. No idea why it's showing up twice. And then it's Ashwa here, which is this machine. And I don't know why it's saying a Windows network right now. I don't have any Windows stuff going on right now. I've only got my Mac running Mavericks right now. Okay, so at this point, I might be able to... Okay, no, that's not how I want to do it. I think I need to go to the disks thing. Not G-parted, disks. It's a different thing. Yes. This is Ubuntu's rough equivalent to disk utility on the Mac side. So, and able to configure this to be used as a NAS, I've got to not format it. I'll take ownership of it, just in case. Recursive. I hope this doesn't break anything. It's probably going to take a hot second. And there's nothing on this drive. So I'll go ahead and take ownership. Probably don't need to do that, but just in case, you know. And there's nothing on that drive, so that shouldn't take too long. I'm probably going to have to leave this running until whenever this is done. So I can't shut it down unless I absolutely have to. Mount options. There we go. So, I'm trying to move this window to see what's going on over there. It's not letting me. Okay. So let's stop getting distracted. So to edit mount options for drives, you can turn off session defaults. You can turn on mounting at the system startup, showing the UI, and any additional authorization if somehow one of your drives has a password on it or something like that. You can do its mount point here. I'm going to put its mount point at Mount Big Chungus. Okay. That should go ahead and apply to that disk. Okay. Alright, and the 4TB drive is actually done at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to mount it at startup, showing user interface. But for this one, instead of Big Chungus, I'm going to go Little Chungus. I might think of some more creative names in the future. But for now, I'm just going to roll with that. Just so I can set things up here. And I think the 4TB drive is in some kind of sleep mode right now. I'm not sure why there's this free space over here, but I mean, if I unmount the drive, I can resize it to... Oh, 320 gigabytes! Yeah, that was because of an experiment that I was doing. I'm going to go ahead and expand that partition with Gparted, because I'm a bit more comfortable in doing that with Gparted rather than the default disks thing. Getting faster at typing my password on this keyboard. That's good? Probably good. Okay. So to resize a disk, all you need to go is select the partition that you want to resize, especially if there's unallocated space at the end. I'm going to go ahead and hit this button up here, and I can either type things in manually or just click and drag the partition like that. So that will give me the extra about 300 gigabytes of space on this drive. I can't exactly remember what I was doing with that space, but it was probably something to do with migrating things around. Okay, let's see. SDA is the boot drive, SDB is the big chungus, and the SDC is the little chungus. The screen resolution is actually so small, it's actually struggling to display everything that's on the dock. Maybe I can increase the resolution. Maybe not. Alright. It's stuck in the Novow driver, isn't it? Yeah, even on my RTX graphics card, Novow graphics, the open source version of NVIDIA graphics is not as good. Oh dear lord, it's using the proprietary driver and it sucks already. Well, not like I'm going to be using this for video editing anyways. I don't care about it too much. And it's a GT 710 anyway, so I don't expect it to be running at 8K at all times. Okay, so we have these two drives here. Little Chungus and Big Chungus. That's probably going to take a hot second to open back up. That's a bummer that I can't run this at a higher resolution, but 800 by 600 does work. I think it's still doing that permission scrub that I was doing, or whatever it's called. That's probably not the right thing, but whatever. Doesn't matter too much. I think that did finish though, so I'm not sure what's going on right now. What's the system monitor say? Okay. I think it's still doing whatever it was doing. Oh no, that's file system usage, not disk activity. That's different. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and soft restart. So hopefully it should fairly cleanly wrap up what it's doing and restart the system. All three drives still showing up, that's good. And it should boot Ubuntu. Every time I'm restarting this, now that I've actually installed Ubuntu, I feel like it's gonna not boot because of my experience so far with this board, but I think it's going to be fine. Yeah, it's gonna be fine. So, my two next steps are making sure that I can pull see all of my files on different devices like my Mac Mini and Windows systems. That's priority number one, and then after that, I need to make it so that I can SSH into this machine so I can manage it without having to go to my closet and stuff. Don't think it saved my options for Lil Chungus. I'm not 100% sure what that's doing. Mount options. Lil Chungus. It is on there. Oh, I think that's a slightly different thing. Let's go back to Gparted real quick then. Okay. I think I actually need to make, like, the label of this partition Little Chungus for it to show up properly here. Name partition. Bulk storage. Will. Alright. Mount point. Little Chungus. Apparently. Okay. That doesn't matter too much, though. But it does look like these guys are properly showing up. Okay, now those are actually opening. That's a good sign. And at this point, to enable file sharing, I can go Preferences, I believe. No. That's not for this specific folder, I believe. Properties? Yeah, here we go. Okay, file share. Oh, crap. The accept button is off the fucking screen. Okay. Will it still click? It will not still click. Cool. Okay. Alt F4? Ooh, that apparently does work under Linux. Okay. So, biggest problem right now, I need to set up file sharing stuff, but the way that I want to do it, the screen resolution is too small. So, assuming that reboot didn't fix what's going on over here, looks like it did not. I don't know why it's saying it's a 75 Hz refresh rate, although that does feel kind of smooth. Is the NVIDIA control panel installed? I don't know if it is. Doesn't look like it is. I'm gonna need some kind of thing here so I can actually friggin' use my machine the way I need it to. Oh boy. I'm nervous about installing a different driver because that has caused issues in the past. Not necessarily on this machine, but it has put up stuff. Yeah, GT710. This is going to be fun. I can... If running a lower driver version will let me actually change the resolution, I don't mind that, especially since I don't plan on editing video on this. I think this is also going to install the NVIDIA control panel. I suspect that my install right now is actually using the open source display driver down here. It just thinks it's running an NVIDIA driver for some reason. Although I don't know if I can verify that, so I can't say that for certain. But I have a feeling that's what it's doing. Alright, we can see here it is downloading and configuring the driver to what it needs, and hopefully this does not screw up my system. It's currently applying changes, whatever that means in context of Linux. You do you, man, just don't break yourself. Yeah, my SSD is actually running fairly cool. That's good. I don't plan on reading and writing to that SSD too much, so even though it's a used drive, and I would very heavily recommend against using used drives for important data, something like an operating system in this kind of capacity probably won't be that big of a deal. Now, if I was going to be fully using the drive a lot, then yeah, I would get a new drive. But sometimes you just want to save a little bit of money. To be fair, I didn't purchase that drive. I got it with the board. And it had a copy of Windows 10 Pro on it, which I may or may not have reappropriated for my workhorse PC. Okay, come on, NVIDIA. Come on, NVIDIA driver. Don't screw me over. I swear, if you screw me over, I'm gonna go nuclear. Why is it complaining about USB? Why is it complaining about USB? I didn't do anything with USB. Why is it complaining about USB? I didn't do anything with USB. Why did the NVIDIA driver f my USB devices? Is that even what happened? You saw that the USB devices were working fine. My keyboard and mouse and the network adapter are all connected to USB. It was booting fine before the NVIDIA driver was installed. That's weird. There's like text artifacting like right there. Why? All I wanted to do was set this thing up as a NAS so that I can start editing Cobalt Retrotech videos again. Now I regret publishing that story, that short, showing this thing working, because obviously it's not working. I just hit the spacebar and it did something. Did it crash? Well, it just did something. The is that garbage? I haven't felt this deep of loathing for a computer in years. And I tried to install Linux on the G3. I knew that NVIDIA driver was gonna me, and I have no idea how to fix it. Let's just restart it one more time. And I bet you it's gonna do something else that's different but still not helpful. I love Linux. I believe in it. The open source community is amazing. But this kind of it is exactly why Ubuntu and other Linux stuff is not quite ready yet for widespread adoption. There's a ton of edge cases. And there we go, it's complaining about the USB again. Why? Okay, everything USB is unplugged. So if it still doesn't boot at this point, I have no clue what to do. And of course, USB is hot pluggable, so it can just plug everything back in. But I'm very annoyed that it's gotten to this point. I literally have video proof that this stupid motherboard was working as intended, and then the NVIDIA driver me over. Well, it's not complaining about USB, but it's doing that stupid error it was before. This is the last big hurdle that I need to get over to start making Cobalt Retrotech videos again and posting them on my channel, and you're gonna do this to me? This PC is finally up and running. I haven't quite solved the issue of getting this thing up and running on my network as a file server quite yet, but it is the next day from the previous clip. And off camera, I managed to reinstall Linux with the DVD drive again, which took way too much time yet again. And now we have a booting Linux machine with all 3 drives. Now I should be able to set this up as a NAS. Oh, And I managed to get the NVIDIA driver working by just reinstalling Linux and installing the NVIDIA driver properly. I'm not sure what the heck the install did the first time around, but it definitely did not install the drivers for the NVIDIA card properly. Now, I know there's a way to fix that without having to reinstall the entire system, but sometimes that's just easier, especially when the install is very new. Now, if I was like really deep into this operating system, I made a bunch of customizations and there were a bunch of programs and files I didn't want to lose, then I would start putting in the effort of saving the install. But literally, all I had installed was a couple of things, and that was it. So I just looked up the IP address of the local network on this machine. It's 192.168.0.188. So at this point, I should be able to move over to another machine and see what's going on. And once I can verify that the network share is actually working correctly on this machine, I'll actually be moving it to my closet so I can open up this space for working with the iMac G3 and other things. Alright, so if you would like to do something like this yourself, I'm going to show you how you should be able to connect to your Samba-based file server, assuming everything is set up correctly on the server side. So I'm actually going to show you 4 different ways to do that. macOS, Ubuntu, Windows when I reboot this machine, and Android, actually. First things first, I'm going to show you the Android method. I'm using the default file browser in my Samsung Galaxy S20 FE. I have noticed that a few of my older Samsung phones don't actually support this network storage feature on the default file explorer, but there's probably some other apps on the Play Store that should let you do this. So you're going to want to go to the network storage section of this app, hit network, add network storage, and you're going to want network drive SMB. It'll look for things directly on the network, and you can see here it's detecting both Ashwat and the Mac Mini, as my Mac Mini is also configured for file sharing, but I need Ashwat because that's what I want to set up. And here you can put in your username and password, and bam, there's all my files conveniently located on my phone. Again, we shouldn't have any files on Big Chungus right now. Oh, it said something about an authentication error. Ooh, interesting. Do I have to do that permissions thing? Alright. I managed to find a video from TechWorks, I'll have the video linked below, that outlines exactly how to do this process. Now, essentially what's going on here is, after the shared folder is set up, you gotta do sudo smb password -a and the username, and then set up a password via smb. Why there's not a way to do that with a GUI so you don't have to deal with the command line interface, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, I am the kind of person that is very interested in doing things in the command line interface, but that's just one other reason why Linux just hasn't taken off in the desktop space like it has in the mobile space. There's way too much reliance on the command line here. Alright, right now we're back on macOS Mavericks. We're going to connect to the server once more with my username and password. And just in case it works, I'm going to have it remember it in my keychain. Oh, that's right. My username is Cobalt, no, not Cobalt Retrotech. Sweet. Okay. Did that work? Yes, I can start making videos again! Yes! This is taking way too long! Okay. I assume because it's working on macOS, it'll also work over here in Ubuntu land. So registered user, put in the password. Bam! Okay. So it's working in macOS, it's working in Ubuntu. I don't usually access my files that much with my phone, but I'm gonna double check that with the phone. So we're back here on Android. I'm gonna go ahead and select network storage again. It's already saved the IP address and everything from the thing, and oh, it's actually saved the password, so I don't even have to put the password in. It's just bam, all my stuff right here. Cool. So if it's working in macOS and Ubuntu, I see no reason for it to be working on Windows. Let me just reboot into Windows real quick so I can double check that. So from here we should be able to click on network, and eventually the network neighborhood should pop up. That's a little bit of an older term from much older versions of Windows, but that is essentially the same concept. And the Mac's going crazy over here. Hey, there we go. So this is currently looking at all of the devices on my network. For some reason it's picking up my Xbox before anything else, despite the fact that my Mac Mini can't see my Xbox and neither can the Ubuntu installs. That's weird. So first things first, Windows doesn't really like file sharing enabled by default. Same thing with macOS, but macOS handles enabling file sharing a little bit differently. From here, we'd actually need to open the Network and Sharing Center, and of course it's going to be slow because reasons. Wow, maybe I really do need to get a new SSD. Jeez. Just going to open up the Task Manager here. It should help me out a little bit, maybe. I think it's trying to download updates, which is probably taking up all the DRAM that this poor cheap SSD has. This system has a Ryzen 5 3400G and 16 gigabytes of RAM, so it's not being bottlenecked in that capacity. Plus, it has a dedicated graphics card. I'm not sure what's going on here. Since I know the IP address of the machine in question, I could probably just map it as a network drive and call it good. Browse. Will it see it now? Probably not. //192.168.0.188. Connect using different credentials. It should reach out to that real quick. There we go. We have a username prompt. Oh, why not? Why not? Like, seriously, why not? It's still not working. Why is that not working? macOS can read the share. Ubuntu can read the share. And my Galaxy phone can read the share. Why is Windows... Why? This is the one operating system that I need to flawlessly read this file share from, and it's not cooperating. Why? Let me see if that IP address has changed. I haven't configured this with a static IP yet. I mean, at this point, like, I could use the Ubuntu install on the NVMe SSD to, like, inject the footage into the Windows install, but some of my videos, including this one, take up a lot of space. So I would rather be able to pull the files off of the NAS directly rather than deal with... No, I don't want to wait for a Windows update. I'd rather be able to pull the files off directly from the NAS rather than having to deal with local copies of things because Windows doesn't want to cooperate. I'm going to make Windows cooperate because I need it to cooperate. The future of Cobalt Retrotech right now is hanging off of my ability to make videos, and I can't afford to have this operating system not cooperating. I need Windows to cooperate right now. Literally, Windows is the only thing in my way right now. The machine works. I put up so much effort to get Ubuntu installed on it, and it's actually functioning. It's actually on the network, and every other machine can see my friggin' files. So what the hell is going on with Windows 10 Pro so that I can't see the files that are on my friggin' network? Seriously, what Microsoft? It is still only seeing my Xbox. Because, yeah, being able to access a file server that's not on a friggin' Xbox is totally what I need for Cobalt Retro Tech. Yeah, that's totally and 100% useful. So why isn't it working? Big chungus. Okay. Okay, we're getting somewhere. We are getting somewhere. Actually getting somewhere. Okay. So it's seeing Big Chungus. So what the hell is our holdup here? Okay, add a network location. Will that help? Choose custom location. Browse. Again, will that see anything? I doubt. Doubt it will. Okay. So. 2.188. I can tell that Big Chungus is working. Ooh, that's a good sign. Okay. Alright. So, we can see the Big Chungus right here as a network location, which means it is working despite the fact that Windows doesn't actually want to see the computer on the network, which is really weird, but at least it's friggin' working! Okay, can I do the same thing with Little Chungus, please? Yes! Okay! Yes, I can! Woo! Okay! I was about to go nuclear on Windows if I couldn't do that. At least. Whew. Okay, I have Little Chungus and Big Chungus. I assume I can read and write to this? Come on. Windows, this is not the time to be stupid and slow. I'm trying to click and drag an installer file that's on my desktop. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm probably need to get, yeah, I'm gonna need to get a much bigger and much faster SSD. I'm not even sure how much DRAM my WD drive has, but this is genuinely unacceptable for new technology. Yeah, that was the PC Health setup. I just put it on there. Cool. Can I pull something off? This is, I believe, my master files for Learning Fusion. If I can pull these off, it might be harmful to your computer. It's literally my server with my files. Maybe I can map it as a network drive rather than a network location to make that not happen, and bam! Look at that! Autofocus! Can you please cooperate? There we go. That wasn't on my desktop before. Oh man. Finally. Long-form videos on Cobalt Retro Tech have been on hiatus for way too long. Part of it was my fault, part of it was lethargicness and not being able to deal with work stress correctly. But a big chunk of this that I've been dealing with, a big chunk of not being able to produce videos, is because that computer was not cooperating in the way that I need it to, but now it finally is. Cobalt Retro Tech is back in business, baby! Woo! But in any case, Cobalt Retro Tech is finally back in business. So, that means if you see this video, that means everything works. At least enough to get going. I am so relieved that this actually friggin' works, because I was about to probably some bricks if it didn't. With all that being said, thank you for tuning into this video. Finally, I can now start producing Cobalt Retro Tech videos at a hopefully much more consistent schedule. Thanks to this. This is my lifesaver. It's prevented me from potentially losing data with like converting file systems and tossing data around. Oh man. And it opens the door to a few other things I kind of have an idea of. But, for now, that'll be at the end of this video. If you've enjoyed this content, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And I can't forget about my patrons. It's been way too long since I've had the opportunity to thank them. Especially my Kilo supporter, Indian Mac. Your support helps make Cobalt Retro Tech possible. Thank you. Whew, I haven't said that in a long time. With all that being said, I'm going to keep working in the background to make my setup better and put things where I need to put things. And in the meantime, I'll see you in the next video.